Hey everyone, Miss S here. Today we're going to be going over actually quite a few things. We're going to be going over how to do folds for clothes. So that'll include going over ribbons, folds, how they interact with the human body, putting patterns on them, and then finally we're going to close out by doing multiple clothing options for both female and male characters. So first off, let's go over how do you even start doing ribbons and folds. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw the starting point of your ribbon and you're going to draw the ending point of your ribbon. Okay? One of the most important things to remember is that whatever the top does, the bottom is going to do as well. So if my top goes a little bit down, then the bottom is going to go a little bit down the same way. Okay? Always make sure that the top and the bottom are the same to each other. Okay? So now, using this idea, I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated. Okay? I'm going to put my ending point down here, and I'm going to connect my top points with a squiggle. Okay? So now, this is a little bit more complicated. Okay, but there are very easy ways to remember how to do it. We originally, first semester, do a shape perspective project, okay, where with that project we learned about the apex of the curve. So when we have a circle like this, and our vanishing point is right up here, we knew that we had to go to the outside of the sides of the circle and draw our lines from there, okay? We're going to use that same exact idea, okay, using the apex, for these curves on our ribbon, okay? So I can see that this is the apex, and this is the apex, okay? Now the ribbon doesn't change its width as it goes, okay? So it's going to stay the same height the whole way. So what I'm going to do is at the apex, I'm going to draw a line straight down, the same height as the starting and the ending one. Straight down. And this one's actually going to be so long, it hits the top of this. That's okay. Okay? If it interacts with something else, that's meant to do that. Okay? Don't try to make it fit. So if it hits something, then it hits something. And then all we have to do is what we did up here, where we just have to copy the bottom. We want to copy the bottom and copy the bottom. And that's it. It's really nice and simple. It of course becomes a little bit more complicated if you choose like a crazier shape that's, going everywhere. But you just have to remember, there's the apex, 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 whoopsies. Copy, 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 copy. Okay? Starting point and end point, find the apex, draw straight down, and then copy, 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 copy. Okay? That's all you have to remember for ribbons. Now, we're going to take this concept and we're going to apply it to folds and clothes. Okay? Folds and clothes, in some ways, for me personally, I find it actually a little bit easier to do because there's not as many steps. So the way that you do that is instead of doing like a kind of starting point like that, I'm going to start off by just doing a squiggle. Okay? That's going to represent the bottom of my fabric. So my skirt, shirt, dress, whatever. Okay? Now the outside here, that is still my starting point and my ending point, but they're going to go up. Okay? So those are the sides of my, let's call this a skirt. Okay? Those are the sides of my skirt. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to identify each one of the apex again, and I'm going to go up. So from here, I'm going to go up. From here, up, 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 up. That's it. Yeah. That's how I learned it when I was in high school, and that's how I'm going to teach you guys this. And again, it just like this little guy right down here, it doesn't matter how complicated you do it. You could have something that's crazy like that, but you just remember up, 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 up. Go up for all of them. Voila! So yeah, this is going to be the basis of what we're going to do for the rest of this video. So let's move on to how do these now interact with the human bodies. And I have 4 lovely models here. I have someone who I'm going to put in a dress. I have someone I'm going to put in a shirt and a skirt. I have a guy that I tried to make it look like he's shading himself, but instead it just looks like he's really over dramatic. We're going to give him a shirt using this perspective that we put him in. And then finally we're going to do some shorts. So these are our 4 lovely models. Let's go ahead and get started with number 1. Okay? For number 1, the reason she's in this position is I'm going to be having her holding a part of her dress. Okay? Because the other important shape when it comes to folds are triangles. Okay? The way folds tend to sit is they tend to kind of go down and then taper as they get back up to the top. Okay? They do kind of this triangular shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start giving her her normal dress down here. Okay? And then since she's holding it up, it kind of needs to go in that direction. Okay? So if I go up to here where her hand is, I'm going to go ahead and put in the fabric that she's holding. Okay? And then I'm going to attach it to her body. So what I'm going to do to make it look like she's holding the fabric is I'm going to come down, round out the bottom like that, draw one triangle, draw another triangle, and then for this one I'm actually going to start on the bottom here with a little squiggle, go up there like another triangle, and add one of our folds that we did. Okay? That's what it looks like when material's being pulled on, when it's being held. It makes this kind of triangle. So now, to attach it to her body, I'm still going to kind of work with a triangle shape. It's just going to take a little bit of a different form. So to attach it to her body, instead of just being like, bam, there's her dress, she's holding it, the dress needs to have a little bit of give. Okay? It's made out of a nice flowing fabric, so it has to, you know, flow back onto her. So to attach it, up, I'm going to start right here in the corner, and now this next one, I'm going to have it go a little bit away. So this is what I mean by we're still working with triangles. As you can see that it's wider here at the bottom, and then it points off to the top. And then I can have another one going back. And as for the bottom, just want to include a couple folds. Now, for this one, I know for these guys, we just went straight up, but now we're interacting with stuff, okay? Since these ones are kind of curved, I want to make sure that I'm following along with what's going on, okay? Give her one more fold, and she's holding her dress, okay? Next up, and we'll revisit these little triangles in just a moment when we do shorts. Next up, we're going to do a simple shirt and a simple skirt, just to make it look like they're actually flowing around the body, okay? If I just left it like this, like I just did a line for the shirt, you know, cross, and then just a straight line for the skirt, nothing, it's not just like a tight shirt or skirt, it is like fused with the skin. Okay, it makes it way too tight, so we want to make it look like it's actually sitting on top of them, which it is, okay? So let's get rid of those, and let's make it so we can actually see how that's interacting, okay? The way that we simply do that is you're going to draw kind of like a small version of one of these little like loop arounds, okay? We're going to just simply loop it around and then connect it to her like that, okay? So if I draw her arm in here and clean it up a little bit, now it looks like it's actually going around her arm, okay? Same with this one. and around and connect it in. And now it's not fused to her skin, it's sitting on top of it, okay? We can also do this with the bottom. I'm just doing it on one side, but you can do it on both sides too, especially if it's a really flowy fabric. You're going to see this a lot more. So now her shirt's wrapping around. And now going back to our triangles, where it's kind of hitting here, these kind of creases, we're going to do just kind of like those, just tiny little triangles, okay? Those are primarily going to be the shapes that you are working with when it comes to folds, okay? And let's give her the neck of her shirt. Oop. There we go. So now her shirt is a little bit more loose fitting, okay? We're gonna do the same thing with the skirt. It's just gonna be a little bit longer. Now with the skirt, it's gonna be like sitting on her hips and then draping down. So instead of just doing like, you know, there's the whoosh, it goes across, and then I connect it immediately, I want it to still be off of her body. Like I said, it's hanging off of her hips. So instead of just connecting it immediately, we're still going to keep it away from the body and not have it touch it really that much at all, okay? Same thing over here, it's going to come out and then go straight down, okay? It's not going to completely conform to her figure because we want it to be a little bit more of a flowing skirt. And there you go. So now we have just very simple kind of wraparound folds, okay? For this guy, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to make it a little bit more crazier. I'm going to, at the bottom of his shirt, I'm going to have it go up and around like that, okay? So that way it's kind of going up a little bit. Now for this one, it's not just going to, again, just simply go into it. If it's this billowy, okay, this like big at the bottom, that means that it's a pretty loose fitting shirt. So I'm going to want to pay attention to how it really interacts with his body, how much material I'm working with. So I'm going to actually start off by making it kind of go in like that, okay? Kind of go in. Depending on the fabric you're working with, your folds could either be at slight angles like this, they could be nice and curved the whole way. For this one, I am doing at a slight angle, okay? So I know from her that when it hits like armpits and things like that, we get our little triangles. And then since it's still really big, I'm having it come out and go into it, okay? So I'm left with a shape. That looks like that, okay? Combining these kind of pointed angles, if you put them together, that's how you start making some pretty convincing looking folds as well, okay? There's more than just doing the ribbon method for making folds and shirts and clothes and things like that. It entirely depends on like what it's made out of. Like if it's made out of something like pretty rugged or pretty rough, it's not going to have all these pretty cute little folds everywhere, okay? So you want to, you know, if it's a rugged piece of clothing, then it's going to have some rugged folds to it. So same thing over here. I'm going to have another fold come out. And now I'm going to attach it to his arm. I'm going to have the sleeve come down. And they'll kind of attach like that. So I'm erasing where his skin is, but you can see before I erased it, it wasn't touching his body, okay? So it kind of comes around, make sure the shirt isn't glued to his body. I want to have like the neck part blowing around too. So you know what to do. Add the lines. And just last but not least, let's add another one of our little whooshing folds. So now, just like the other model, instead of having a shirt that is completely attached to their body, now it's going around them, billowy, things like that. Okay? Pants. There's not much more to add from here. It's just kind of learning where do you put creases, things like that. Generally speaking, creases are going to be where the creases of the body are located. So if I have my pants that start up right here, remember not to glue them to the skin, have them come out a little bit, but we'll have like a fold right here, have them sit a little bit off. If we want, we can do one of these guys. And like I said, you can do it on both sides. Doesn't always have to be just a one-sided thing. Now here we're going to add some more of our creases. So basically it's just every time there's like a crease in the body, you're adding creases to those clothes. Okay? Have it come around. And last but not least, since we talked about when material is bunched together, you know, it makes our rectangles where it is bunched together in the groin area, it'll make a few folds as well. So that does it for this part, okay? Like I said, we still have 2 more parts after this. But this is kind of, again, the basics of how to just make it look like the clothes are sitting on them, okay? That the clothes are not them, okay? We want to make sure that there's a distinction between the skin and what they are wearing, okay? Next up, patterns, okay? So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off this lovely dress by giving it some crazy big folds. So up, up, have that wrap around, up, 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 up. There we go. Okay, so now we have a very whooshy dress. What I'm going to do on this dress is I'm going to give it polka dots. Okay, big old polka dots. Now, when you're doing a pattern, you have to remember that the pattern wraps around with the clothes. And that even though this dress looks pretty, you know, flat, there's really nothing to it, if I was to shade this, like for a person's body, you know, the person would have, you know, more definition over here. It'd get like lighter where their stomach is. Around their chest area there would be some definition. So it wouldn't be just flat, okay? It would have different things going on for it. So my polka dots can't be flat, okay? I cannot just sit there and go circle, 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 straight across, okay? Because especially the number one thing you don't want to do, okay, is try to fit all the circles in the design, okay? It wouldn't look right if I was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For first it looks like really bad trying to like fit in some circles. Like there's no real pattern, okay? But more importantly, this just keeps the dress flat. It's not going to get any form at all unless I am paying attention to how it sits on the body. So if I erase all these not so good circles and I pay attention, let's see, I want to try and do these kind of offset ones like that. I can start one here, goes around, it actually gets cut off by the dress. So now, and then you would see like little smidgens sometime, okay? Like you would see just blip up here, boop, boop, okay? Do a couple more. You just want to make sure, like I've mentioned in my other videos, if you can't see it, you don't draw it, okay? So if the circles go off the dress, they go off the dress. And this goes for any type of design, okay? Let's even say that you're doing like a t-shirt that has like a full design on it. You still have to figure out, how's that design going to interact with, the folds of my outfit. So like if I have an outfit that goes like this, and I want to put a heart right in the middle here, I can't just draw a heart like that, because what this part right here represents is the material is going up, and then it's coming back around, and then it's going back out. So this is like a trench, okay? This whole part right here, I can't see that side of the material. So instead of my heart looking like a full heart, it's going to look more like, let's see, it's going to go down, and then it's going to stop. And now I have to try and envision, okay, how much of it would be taken away. And I was like, oh, a lot of it would be taken away, and I would pretty much just be left with, bam, like that. Okay? You have to, this is a really great thing where, like, observing things really helps. So, like, looking at your own clothes when you're wearing them, looking at how patterns are affected, on other people's clothes, reference photos, stock photos. A lot of this is a lot of referencing and just learning through life studies. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about, especially regarding these trenches and how they interact with what you're drawing, at the bottom here, I'm going to add a stripe. Okay, I'm going to add a stripe to the bottom. Now we'll start off simple. All we have to do, it's kind of like going back to our ribbon where we did like the top and then we did the bottom. Well, now we already have the bottom, so I just have to copy the top. Okay? But it gets a little bit more complicated when you get to these little foldy guys, okay? What you just have to keep remembering is this is the bottom, okay? This is the bottom line, not this. Ignore that guy. This is the bottom line. So I'm still just going to copy it, copy, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep copying it. And all I did was copy it, and voila. There is now a stripe at the bottom of my dress. Okay? So when you're dealing with like the bottom of the dress, when you're dealing with like over here, instead of doing the top first and then the bottom copying the top, you're just starting with the bottom and then copying it to add the top. Okay? And as you can see, once you realize, oh, okay, I see what that is, it becomes nice and fast. So there you go. This shirt right here, all I wanted to show you with this shirt is, again, kind of how the patterns interact with the shape of the body, things like that. So if this person's wearing a shirt that's pretty relaxed and I wanted to give it stripes, what I would have to make sure is that I can't just go straight across. Okay, I can't do that. There's a lot of different things that the stripes are going to be interacting with. First off, we're going to have to think about, okay, well, what's going to happen when I go from the chest to the shoulder? Okay, they're actually going to be like kind of bending different ways. They're going to be interacting different ways. Some are going to get like disappeared. So when you're drawing it across, so let's start kind of following, and this is where your knowledge of like the anatomy comes in. And this is just things that you'll keep figuring out as you're practicing. The biggest advice I can give you is that every time you draw something, make sure you're asking like, wait, why did I draw it that way? Okay? What makes it interact the way that it does? Okay? And that's how you'll kind of dive a little bit deeper to, oh, that does that because that's how the rib cage is shaped. And that's just stuff that you'll learn along the way. So I know that it then goes up a little bit, and then I hit this arm, and I can see that the arm is more rounded around here. So I'm actually going to go around the arm like that. And then copy it. I hit these little bumps right here. So I'm going to go bump, bump, and then around again. around. And eventually they kind of straighten out as you go. But you do have to start learning how things interact with different anatomies, okay? But there we go. These are the basics for the ribbons and folds that we are now going to use to apply to our female and male figures from the video of using reference photos to draw a human body, okay? To figure out human proportions. So I'm going to do just a couple here. I started off with 3 models here. I don't know if I'll use all of them, but I will do, especially since we already kind of did like a shirt, a skirt, you know, other things like that. I'll try to do some things that we haven't done yet. The first thing I'm just going to do though is a basic dress, but I'm going to make it like really frilly at the bottom, okay? So using kind of this line from her leotard she's wearing, I'm going to make that the top of my dress. And I actually kind of want to give it like a bodice. So there we go. There's the top of her dress. Now we're going to have fun. Now I know I want it to go out and go out. So this is going to be a really poofy, fluffy, frilly dress. So what I'm going to do is connect it like that, okay? Now remember our triangles. Going up, up, up. Now you want to make sure that you're also following the flow of the body. These ones over here aren't going to go that same direction. They're going to go the other direction. I'm also making them different shapes, or lengths, I guess, just to vary it up a little bit. Make it come around and around. So if I erase the parts of the bodies I don't need, a very, very frilly dress. Now, because it's wearing a bodice, this skirt is tucked into it. So it's going to have a couple of like little parts where like the material pops out, things like that. So using kind of our more angular parts like that, I'm going to have a few pieces come up and then down. So when I erase that, they're actually going to go a little bit above the bodice. That way it looks like it's really interacting with it, okay? That's a little bit extreme. I did it really extreme for this one. But that's just to help you get the idea. Here you go. So there's kind of one. For this one, I'm actually going to do a dress that is longer in the back than it is in the front, okay? For just time's sake, I'm going to use just the same top for the bodice, except now I'm going to have one part that is in the front. I'm going to have another part that kind of comes in the back here. So now I have to take into consideration how these are going to be interacting with each other. For these kind of weird bumps where it's not enough to have like an actual fold, I tend to just draw a couple lines. Let's erase her body and see how this looks. There we go. I can't get over how ridiculous this one is. And last but not least, let's do one. Let's do a shirt that's tucked into a skirt. Okay? So, the shirt, you can make it kind of a scoop neck. I want it to come up over her body. Okay, so slightly out of it. Come down like that. We know where it meets the armpits. There's going to be some folds. Okay, so let's tuck it into our skirt. First, I'm going to draw the skirt. Have it kind of come around. We'll do a big whoosh. If we want to do a big whoosh like that, though, it's got to come a little bit further over. So if it's like this, like crazy, then we do have to do a few more folds because some of this is behind it and we can't see it. There we go. So that's where my skirt is located. Now we're going to tuck the shirt into it. Okay, so I'm going to have this side be hanging out. So I'm going to make it go like that. And then it's actually going to be, we're going to use our triangles. Tuck it in, and on this side it would be tight. And on this side, it'd be nice and loose. And there we go. Again, these are very like over-exaggerated styles, but it helps you see all the different parts of it. For the guy, I was going to do a shirt and some shorts, and we already kind of did the shorts. And we've already kind of done the shirt. So I'm just going to quickly draw one on him. We won't worry about the second one. Sorry, buddy. You're gone. Here we go. So I'm just going to put a simple shirt and some shorts on this guy. The shirt, I can make it be a long sleeve shirt at least. That way we can see how it's interacting with a lot of the different parts of the body. Okay, so if I'm working with a long sleeve shirt, what I'm going to look at first is where all of my creases are going to be. So everywhere, we already learned like the armpit kind of creases, but also his arms are crossed. Okay, so he's going to have creases in the shirt like that. Remember to make the shirt go off the body a little bit. We'll have his be like a crew neck. Make sure we add the creases. It's kind of, his arms are folded, so we would have a little bit of tension on it over there. And we want to make it so this is, so we talked about like the apex of the curve for the ribbons, and I kind of talked about it here with like her skirt, how like once it hits the furthest part of her hip, it just kind of goes down. You're kind of working with the apex there too. So like the shirt, if it's loose fitting, it's going to hit the furthest part of like his rib cage here. And I just kind of want to drop it down and put it back up. And then since his arms are crossed, it's kind of putting a little bit of tension in the chest area. So I'm going to add some creases there as well. So now he's wearing an extremely comfy looking shirt. And then to make his outfit complete, I'm going to put him, since we already did shorts, okay, I'll do pants. So again, I want to make sure the pants are nice and loose fitting. So I'm going to have them come down. Now we have a new interaction that we haven't talked about before, and that's kind of like with the knees and things like that. So I'm going to draw the other side of his pants. And then I'm actually going to have them kind of go in like that. And then come back out, and I want them to be baggy. I'm going to have them come out, go kind of over his shoe, and back up. This allows us to see like where the knee is located. So that way it doesn't just look like he's wearing, I don't know what that would look like, a cylinder around each one of his legs. It gives it again that depth that we've been looking for. So just kind of where it hits the knee, drops down onto his feet. Working with our triangles. And then remember, kind of like that. So when I erase this, he got pants. Ta-da! He looks very comfortable. So I think we are done here. Yeah, I think we're good, because we went over patterns, we went over how it interacts with different types of positionings of the body, different types that you can put on, how no matter how complicated it looks, you still just remember to use your basics and things like that. And with that, you can, just start experimenting with a bunch of different types of clothing styles. And body types as well. You really have to look into, a shirt is going to fit someone with like a more thin, slender body type than someone who's a little bit more heavier set. It's going to pull in different places, or the opposite, it's going to be a little bit baggier in other places. So again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? There's a lot more to go over. But for this video, this is going to be it. So thank you very much for joining me for another video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!